Hello, William Isom, USA Wrestling Officials Director. In today's video, we're going to be talking about scheduling, as this is a topic many officials and prospective officials have asked me about. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your schedule, it's essential to know how to build your calendar and secure wrestling events. In this video, we'll walk through the steps to get more opportunities and manage your schedule as a wrestling official. As a wrestling official here in Kansas, you're an independent contractor. You control your own schedule, but you're also responsible for finding and securing your events. Unlike employees, sports officials are paid per match or event, and the key to success is being proactive and seeking opportunities. I'm going to assume if you're watching this video, you've already gone through all the certification processes, such as KSHSAA, USA Wrestling National, and USA Wrestling Kansas. If you have not, check out my other video on how to do that, because realistically, you need to be certified before you even start looking for booking events for yourself. So on to the topic at hand. Step 1. Accessing your availability. Consider your other commitments like your full-time job, family, and travel time. Wrestling events can sometimes be long, especially tournaments, so make sure you schedule breaks and rest periods. This will help you avoid overbooking yourself and keep your energy up for the matches. Number 2, making contact and networking. If you're primarily interested in working USAWKS events, then there are 3 essentially ways to find and get work. The first one is to go to usawrestlingks.org and clicking on the events. This will give you a calendar that shows a list of all the USAWKS sanctioned events in real time. This list is updated each time a new tournament is sanctioned, so it's important to check it frequently. Each event will list a contact person. This could be the tournament director, the club president, etc. They may or may not be the person in charge of getting officials for that event, but in almost every case they are going to know who is in charge of that. Typically there's 2 ways that tournaments will handle officials. Either they will designate one person within their club to get the officials, or they will designate their head official for that tournament, which was required to have a head official at USA Wrestling Kansas events. And that head official will be the one who is in charge of getting the officials for that event. But the person who is listed as the contact on the event page should know that information. If the person who is listed as a contact person is the one who's getting officials for that event, it's easy enough just to ask them, hey, I'm a new official, or I'm even an experienced official and I have that date open and I'd like to work your event. And then that person will either say yes or no. If they say yes, then that constitutes a verbally binding contract. And so you need to have a system in place to keep track of events that you've agreed to do. You could do that through Google Calendar. Maybe you have an app on your mobile device that helps you keep track of events that you're supposed to be at. It doesn't matter what system you use, as long as you make note of events that you've agreed to do and that you show up at the time when you're supposed to be there. If it is not that person who is handling the officials, and they will give you the contact information for the person who is. So for example, if the head official is me, William Isom, for an event, they'll say, hey, William's getting the officials for this event, get a hold of him. So then you would call that person and tell them the same thing. Say, I'm a new official, or I'm an experienced official, I have that date open, and I'd like to work it. And then they will say, sure, I can use you, or I'm already full at this event. The sooner that you get on this, though, the greater your chances are of getting a spot in that event, because they will fill up pretty quickly depending on the event and where it's located at. So again, once you have committed to working that event, then you need to treat it as such. One of my biggest pet peeves as a person who does quite a bit of assigning, not only at the kids level but at middle school and high school level, is that if you agree to do an event and then you do not show up to do it, there's a very good likelihood that I'm not going to offer you any more events in the future. One of the things that I always tell people that I schedule is if something comes up, because I understand emergencies will come up, if something comes up, then you need to be very proactive and you need to find a qualified official to replace you. And if that person agrees to work the event for you, then you will essentially be off the hook, and then it's on that person to make sure that they are there. But if this is an event for, say, middle school and high school, then you have to have the athletic director of that school involved in that decision, and that person will be the final say so whether they will accept the replacement or not. So that is one way that you can get events. The second way is networking. You should get a hold of people who have been officiating for quite some time and just introduce yourself to them and say, hey, I'm so and so from this location and I'm looking to try and schedule some events, get into this whole thing. Do you have something for me? So there are some very good resources for that. In District 3, obviously myself, I am involved in quite a bit of scheduling for kids events in the District 3 area. In District 1, as of the making of this video, one good contact would be Brent Lane out of Ottawa. I know that he schedules a ton of tournaments, kids tournaments in District 1. In District 4, an individual named Robert England would be a good one. Ron Haag, who is the intramural director at Fort Hays College, probably has some really good insights into who may be scheduling tournaments out in that area. And I know that he does a bit of assigning for his college kids out there to events out there. In District 2, Keith Ashpole is a good name. Justin Crabbs does a ton of head officiating down in that area, so I know that he probably has several tournaments that he would be assigning down there. So it's really just a matter of finding guys who have been officiating for a long time, because they will often either have spots that they are assigning themselves or they know other people who are assigning spots there. But again, as I said near the beginning of this video, really the most important thing is to be very proactive and get a hold of people to get yourself scheduled. One other way to get events is to go the passive route. The methods that I talked before are what I consider to be active scheduling, meaning that you're actually going out and making an active attempt to schedule events for yourself. The passive way is that if you are certified through KSHSAA, then you will appear on the KSHSAA officials directory on their website. Same with USA Wrestling Kansas. If you have gone through the registration process for USAWKS, then you will appear on the certified officials list. And the reason I mention this is because sometimes tournament directors or the person who's responsible for gathering officials for their event, athletic directors, league assigners, etc., they will actually go on to these websites and look at those lists and find people who are located geographically close to them, and then just start making phone calls or sending texts depending on how they do things. And so there's a likelihood that they may in fact contact you kind of out of the blue and say, hey, I've got this event on this day, I need this many officials, would you be interested in it? So that is a way to get events. If you are new or just starting out, I would not recommend that you do that, simply because these people are not going to know who you are, and so they aren't going to be sure what your level is as far as proficiency in officiating. So they may just skip right over you. One final point in all of this is that if you are going to make contact with individuals on an active basis, which you should be doing, I recommend that you call. I know that the natural tendency these days is to send emails or to send text to people. However, not everybody checks their email all the time, and sometimes your actual email could end up in their spam folder, so they may never see it. So email is not really a great way to communicate, especially when you're actively trying to book dates for yourself. Sending text messages to people who do not know you is also not necessarily a good idea, because of the reasons that I stated before, which is they may not even know who you are, And so if they get a random text from somebody, they may be prone to just kind of disregard it. So I always recommend that you physically call somebody, the telephone number that's listed. Most everybody is friendly when you call them. So when you do, just introduce yourself, tell them where you're from. If you are new or just starting out, make sure that you give them that information so that they can make a decision whether or not they want to use a novice official or not. Um, so all of that being said, that's the information that you need to know about scheduling. Good luck with it. As always, I'm always here to answer questions that you may have, so feel free to contact me if you need any more advice on this.